He got sick just with like fever, cough, and congestion. By the following day, he stopped eating. After we had seen his pediatrician, he just continued to decline. So then that's when we presented to the ER. We brought him home, and then approximately like 6 hours later, he woke up and he just could not breathe at all. So that's when I said to my husband, we were just discharged. I know that, but I think we need to go back to the emergency room.
It was because of Katie and Dean's persistence that this wasn't just a flu, that this wasn't just a sore throat, that they brought him back to that emergency department twice, and on the second time, it was in the nick of time.
At one point, he was using every accessory muscle in his body to breathe at that point. I thought we were going to lose him, really. There were multiple times throughout that day, watching him, that I thought that we were going to lose our son that day.
In Gunnar's case, it was an entire respiratory system infection. So he had pharyngitis, tracheitis, and a bronchopneumonia as well. And that is an overwhelming infection. So he really progressed from an isolated viral infection to a bacterial co-infection to sepsis to septic shock with respiratory failure. And his respiratory failure had a component of upper airway obstruction. And so normally when we have a child in profound respiratory failure, we do something called intubation. And by doing that, we're able to deliver oxygen and pressure and really support the failing lung. When you have an upper airway obstruction, your concern is, am I going to get past the obstruction? Gunnar was in such distress at that point. The added stress of having to get the airway led to him having a brief cardiac arrest. So the reason he had to come to Janet Weiss Children's Hospital was that he needed to be mechanically ventilated once that tube was in. He needed his shock state to be reversed. He required fluid resuscitation and medicines to keep his blood pressure up. And that really only can be done in a children's hospital with a pediatric ICU.
The time we arrived at the PICU was finally the time I felt like I could take a deep breath, right?
First impressions are everything. We went from having no answers and just feeling hopeless to meeting the individual that was calling the shots.
Dr. Maffei. When we met him in the PICU, I remember looking over at my husband and just seeing this like his whole face changed, right? Like he had like a sigh of relief, and we just immediately could trust him. You know, he not only kind of told us what to expect, but he also went through to say, you know, what could go wrong. But at that point, we trusted him.
I think he probably was one of our youngsters that a lot of equipment was used. So I did look at his airway and just to see what the degree of inflammation was there. And I used a video laryngoscope to do that. I had to put a central line in as well. And so when we do that, we use ultrasound. And that's been a game changer. We've been using ultrasound for over 15 years in our PICU, but we're so fortunate because of Children's Miracle Network funding that we really get the state-of-the-art one. We are very much a family-centered ICU. We really engage our parents, and these were two incredibly intelligent and just great people to work with. And so that part of the care team with our families is essential to get our kids through.
He put up a good fight, a really good fight. And not only that, but there's one point in time where he told his mom not to worry about him. I mean, that's tough. He's got a lot of heart. You know, by God's saving grace, he gave us a tough kid, a very strong-willed kid that's willing to fight.
You get to watch the resilience of a child and a family, you know, come through what can be life-threatening circumstances. And yes, for Gunnar, this was life-threatening. He had a brief arrest. And when you see that child, you know, come back to their baseline and become, you know, Gunnar again, it's amazing.
Come on, Gunnar!
When Gunnar was towards the end of his treatment. He just wanted to come home. And the one thing that my wife told me is that he mentioned how he just wanted to go home where Avery was, because Avery is the best thing in his life.
Gunnar is...
He's wild.
Gunnar is your typical 5-year-old boy. He is spunky and sweet and caring and just so loving. And really, we always joke that this is Gunnar's world, right? We're just living in it.